Okay, and we're going live on Facebook. Let me see. All right, we are live, everyone. Hi, welcome back to episode 13 of the Blossoming Into You show, where this is a space, safe, nurturing, and supportive space for women across the globe to fully express themselves mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, sexually, whatever that looks like. And today on here with us, we have Laurie from the Bay Area joining us, where we'll be diving in, talking about how to operate in a state of flow, fun, and ease. And with that being said, Laurie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me, Miko. I'm glad to be here.
You're so welcome. So, just to give our audience a little bit background, how me and Laurie got connected. A couple months ago, we got connected over a summit that I launched last year, and I just want to say, like, ever since I got connected with Laurie, like, I always can feel your commitment, your passion, your desire to becoming the best version of yourself at work, in your business, as a mom, as a wife, as a woman. So I just want to acknowledge you for the work that you've been doing. If you would like to share a little bit with our audience what your journey was like to blossom into who you are, the woman that we're speaking to today.
Oh, well, thank you. First of all, thank you. That was very nice. So I would say that I've been a busy mom for quite a number of years. I have a 17-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old son. And I've just kept myself really busy. Early on, when the kids were younger, it was volunteering. And eventually, I started a fitness business just to help with income and to kind of have a little something for myself. And eventually, I let that go and I became a skincare consultant running a skincare business with a company. And so I've continued to be a Girl Scout leader. So I've continued to be really busy. And I think about the time that I met Miko and actually was watching her summit last year. It was the timing was really good because um, I was almost feeling overwhelmed and just really busy, but I couldn't figure out a way to slow down or bring peace into my life. And so I saw Miko's summit, and then I really enjoyed it. And then Miko started talking to me, and I started working on my state of being. I was constantly in a state of doing. And I think that has been a huge difference for me because I was always feeling like I was on the hamster wheel. And, I'm probably am going to be working on that for a long time because I do seem to continue to have that issue. But it's been going a lot better, and I'm able to just like live in peace. I don't know how to explain that, but yeah, just kind of be more at peace each day, set my intention in the morning, which I learned from you, and set the intention on how my day is going to be. Who am I going to be during the day? So that's my story.
Yeah, I remember that. I still remember that conversation, Laurie. Like, you were just sharing with me the pain that comes with being constantly busy. And I think the turning point for you was when I mentioned something about like staying busy has to do with intimacy, like us being intimate with ourselves, sitting with our emotions, being present to whatever wants to come up. And I knew this when I shared that with you was because like that was my journey too. Like, I kept myself so busy, constantly in the doing, constantly hustling and chasing and striving because I wasn't okay with being in the now. Like, whatever was wanting to come up, I didn't want to feel it. I didn't want to face it. And that's what people would call like the shadowy parts of ourselves. And I don't know if ever since then, like, you were able to get to be more present and more intimate with those parts of you that maybe you've been avoiding for staying so busy. Do you want to touch on that?
Sure. No, you're absolutely right. And when you first mentioned that to me, that it meant me being so busy was a way of saying that I had a hard time being intimate with myself. I had no idea what you meant, what you were talking about. And then you explained it, and it was like, it really made sense. Like, I didn't realize that I was like not ready to confront, you know, certain things or face certain things, like sit in my emotions. But once I was able to, that really brought some calm and some peace into my life. And one of the things you always said, and I really like it, is to embrace the emotion, even if it's negative, even if it's sad, and if it's painful, embrace it. And once I started doing that, it really did kind of make a change for me in my life, and made things a little easier to be in the now, because I've always had a really hard time with being in the now, and I never really understood why.
Right, right. And this is something that I'm also like more and more so coming into seeing how much this is happening in our society, is that we live in a culture that shame our bodies, that shame our emotions, that just shames like our connection to ourselves on this like deeper intimate level. Because I mean, how much we grew up listening to people like, hey, it's not okay to cry, it's not okay to be sad, it's not okay to be angry, like all of those emotions, we're just supposed to like shove it away or repress them and just like get ourselves together, right? That phrase is so common, just get yourself together. But at the end of the day, like we experience all spectrum of emotions, and regardless if we are able to express it or not, like it's in our bodies. And so many of us live in our head that puts us in a constant doing. So we live from here and up. So that's because also we are being shamed for being so connected to our bodies. Like most of us do not have a deep connection to our sensations, to our senses, to what's under here. So we're constantly living from heads up. And we're constantly thinking about the future, thinking about the past, and we're not in the now, where that's where our most aliveness lives. Like this is our existence is in the now moment. So Laurie, touch on more so like what's your life experience like now that you're more and more being in the now, operating like being connected to your aliveness here and now. What is that like for you?
So, well, I think a big part of it is starting the day with that intention, setting the intention of who am I going to be today, and how am I going to be able to do that, and then looking back at the end of the day, and really be honest with myself. Who was I being today, and were there any wins? Were there anything maybe I could have done better?
Mhm.
And I think me trying to always stay positive, and like for years I've just positive, 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 positive. And so I really did kind of think of negative emotions as negative, like
Mm.
don't let them in, just kind of not really sweep them under the rug, but just kind of, I guess I acknowledged them, but then I like pushed them away really quickly. So now I really do try to embrace them at the end of the day. Like, what could I have done better? And it's okay that it went wrong. Whatever went wrong, it's okay.
Mhm.
And just like breathe it in and then breathe it out, acknowledge it, and, basically do let it go, but just acknowledge it and be present for it. And so I
Mhm.
think in terms of even my family, I think I realize now that me always running, 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 I felt like I was there for them, but maybe I wasn't as present as I could have been. And so I acknowledge that without, getting down on myself about it. And I just embrace that's who I am or who I was. And now I can be more present for them. And it's a more calm,
Mhm.
um, pleasant feeling. My days are much calmer, much more at ease and flowing. I'd say the days flow, and I'm not trying to control the universe. I'm letting it flow as it's supposed to flow, and that feels right. Like that feels good.
That's a key term that you use, control. Like in the past, did you experience that there were so many moving pieces that you felt responsible of controlling that created more overwhelm and stress for you throughout the day?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, I don't think of myself as a controlling person. I really don't. But looking back at how I used to live, I do think that um, yeah, I was pretty regimented, and I think I felt like everything had to kind of go the way it's supposed to, certain times, certain places, or everything was going to fall apart, so to speak. So I think once I let go of that and realized that, yeah, I'm not really in control of anything, and I don't have to be responsible for all of that. Like it's okay to just let everything flow. So
Yeah, and one of the things that I notice in the clients and the people that I coach and work with, like one of the key reason why control happens when we feel like we have to control everything, it's because there was a sense of safety or security was lacking, or some sense of trust was lacking. Would you, if you can connect back to your experience like in the past, would you say like that was the case for you?
um, probably without me realizing it, I would say it wasn't anything that maybe I realized, but there's probably some truth in that. Yeah.
And I want to also touch on what you mentioned about being more calm and at ease now because you have created space for those emotions that maybe society has them as negative, but because you're holding this place, a space of acceptance, compassion, and grace and acceptance for those emotions, you're experiencing more ease, and maybe less chatter in the mind. And the reason for that, like I like to believe, like I heard it somewhere, I don't remember exactly where it came from, but they said that the mind is um where we go when the heart is not at peace, right? When the heart is like in turmoil, in chaos, like all these emotions are erupting, that's when we escape. We go to the mind to escape that chaos in the heart. So the more we are at peace with our emotions, with whatever is coming up, and we are not resisting it, controlling it, fighting it, judging it, then we have less mind chatter because we don't need to escape up there.
That's a really good way of putting it. And I remember you talking about mind chatter in the past, and it really stuck with me at the time because
Mhm.
I did. I had a lot of mind chatter. I really did. But yeah, not so much anymore. I can lay down and go to sleep. I always kind of go through my day a little bit, like good things and not so good things that maybe I could have handled differently. And then I'm able to just kind of go to sleep. Whereas before I would be up for like a couple of hours awake. I mean, just thinking about like all the things I did wrong, everything I should have done better, all the things I didn't get done, just all this stuff. And and
It's
nothing,
like
I didn't let
self-inflicted suffering, you know?
yeah, I guess so. I guess, and it's a lot of pressure I put on myself, and I think that's why, um, my heart was probably always suffering a little bit because the more I put, more thoughts I put into everything that I needed to do, my heart was never just able to relax and just live like it wanted to live. I think probably.
Yeah, and going on top of that, there's a audiobook that I've been listening to recently by Michael Singer, Living from a Place of Surrender. And he talked about the heart as like an orchestra. It's like an instrument where it can play all sorts of notes: joy, ecstasy, pleasure, the deepest pain, sadness, fear. Like it's just a note that's temporary, it's transient, it's passing by us. But what most people do is that they are holding on to a certain note and they're saying like, I love this feeling, or I don't like this feeling, and this needs to go away, so that it's creating this blockage to the flow. And that's what like a state of flow is, right? When everything can pass through us without any blockages, and just letting these transient emotions and feelings, and recognizing that all of it, it's a beauty, it's a gift, it's a divine expression, it's an expression of the divine. And if we can live like that, in that state of surrender, we can just reclaim so much of our energy and personal power into our system.
Well, yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it. And that's, I mean, exactly. I completely agree. And that's kind of the tweak I've been doing to myself. And it reminds me of something else that you had said. And you'll say it better than I can. But basically, when you're always striving, always trying to get to that place or to get whatever accomplished, you're always kind of in that state of want, and so that's what the universe is giving you.
Yeah.
Can you can probably explain it better than me?
No, no, you got it. You're spot on. So, like, essentially, I mean, speaking for women like ourselves who are so ambitious, like, we're constantly, we have a vision, we have a goal, we want to get to like somewhere in the future. That ambitious, like, state can also put us in a state of lack, because we're saying, like, until I get this place in the future, then I don't have this thing, right? And then I'm in lack, then I'm it always in this constant state of this is not okay. So, and the universe respond based on how you move, not based on what you say or based on what you think, right? It's based on like how you are being, your beingness. So if we are in a constant state of striving, then we're in a constant state of lack, so we are only going to receive more lack as a result.
Yep. That, and I think when I heard you say that originally, it was probably early summer, I think maybe, and it really changed my mindset. I changed the way I was behaving, and I've seen a difference in my life since then because I'm not constantly striving anymore. So I think that was a huge for me.
So Lori, what did you shift into if you were no longer like so much in the striving?
You know, I'm not sure exactly how to put it, but I'm going to use your words because I really think that it's how I feel.
Mm,
I have to admit I do still struggle, a little bit with this because I've been doing this for years to myself, but
mm,
I'm in a state of being. I think that really does explain it. So not I always used to be in a state of doing. And in my mind, I wasn't striving, but I see now that that is actually what I was, doing and what I was telling the universe. I'm striving, I'm striving. And so now I have surrendered. I really have, to the best of my ability. I mean, I do still have times when I don't surrender like I should, but for the most part, I surrender. And when I don't surrender, I know it. I realize
mm.
it. I feel it. I feel it in my heart. It just gives you that yucky feeling, that stress, overwhelmed feeling. And I know I'm not letting everything flow like it's supposed to, that I'm trying to control things and I need to let go.
And even all of that, it's perfect, right? Even all of that, it's a process. Like you, they always say it, awareness is like 97% of your transformation. As long as you're aware, as long as you're conscious of, okay, this is happening. And the more like you continue to do this work of surrender, like eventually your only job is to experience, is to witness what's unfolding in front of you, right? It's like, okay, I'm noticing this tension, this constriction in my body, like in my entire energetic field. It may not feel good. I may be shifting back to my old patternings, but you're just witnessing it like, okay, thank you. This is unfolding right now. And then letting that pass you by, and then choosing again. We can choose when we are in this, like, when think of it, all these murky, like, and the chaotic energy is happening. Like, that's what most people are trying to do. We're trying to say the mantra, we're trying to say the affirmation, putting something positive on top of like a pile of junk that gets to just wants to come out. But it doesn't work. We cannot choose from a powerful place if there's so much going on that just wants to be released. And the only way we can let it release is to relax and release, like really like just stepping back and witness what's unfolding in front of you.
Yes. And I do that much better than I used to, because I never realized that I even wasn't acknowledging it, or that I don't even know if I was aware of it. And so yes, that's another thing that I learned from you, was to just be aware of it. Excuse
Mhm.
me. And like you said, acknowledge it. And so now when I'm not in the flow, I am aware of it. And
Mhm.
thank you for the reminder. I have to remember it's okay. It's
You
okay
get
that I'm
to. You
yes.
get to, yeah. Yeah, and I want to anchor into something, Lori, that you just mentioned for our audience tuning in, listening, because sometimes when we talk about like operating in a state of flow, fun, and ease, that can be very abstract. Like, what the heck do I mean by this, right? What does that look like? What does that feel like? And one simple way to really look at it, like what Lori, you were mentioning about the doing versus being, is to really look at, and I, even me, like I'm still in the process, like I still catch myself in the constant striving some days, like, and because it's so deeply ingrained in my system, and that I get to purge and release every single moment of every day. But what that looks like when I'm in a state of striving is I am doing all my action. I'm doing all of the tasks on my to-do list coming from a place of I need to get somewhere. I need to get, like, as soon as I get this done, or as soon as I get this goal completed, then I will feel good. So it's like on this, like, it's this feeling of like you're just constantly chasing, like literally you're chasing after something, and every action that you take, it's coming from that energy. But when we shift from the being, like Lori, you mentioned setting that intention, deciding, okay, today I am being present, I'm being abundant, I'm being generous, I'm being whatever that looks like for you, and then you allow the action to flow from that state of being, like you feel it's more like an inspiration, it's an inspired action that you want to take. It's coming from a place like, okay, I already have everything that I desire right here and right now. What is it that I want to do out of pleasure, out of joy, out of fun, out of, I simply want to do it because it's going to give me joy. But it's not like I'm doing this so that I can get something. So that's like a subtle difference that you can be mindful of as you kind of gauge where you're at throughout the day. And it's constant recommitment. It's a constant coming
Yes.
back home to like, okay, right here and right now. And this is being in the present, right? Right here and right now, I have everything that I want. And if you are truly in the present, you can tap into that space to know that.
Right. And I'm glad you kind of went over it again, because I happen to be doing a couple of different projects right now.
Mhm.
And I am finding that it's hard for me to rein myself back in and be present. And you reminded me, when I first started setting intentions for my days, I don't know if you remember this, but I would set the intention that today I am going to be productive. And
Yeah.
and I remember you talking to me about that, like, and that's not exactly what we're trying to accomplish here. And that was really, it took me a few weeks to really get that in my being, not just in my head, but just throughout my whole body. Was that being productive isn't necessarily being present and just being at peace, being comfortable with who I am and where I'm at in my
Mhm.
life. So
Mhm.
um, everything you're saying is just such a good reminder for me, because I know that I'm sort of waffling a little bit as I've got a couple of projects going right now. So
Yeah,
thank you.
remember that. It's so funny. I remember, like, and yeah, obviously, like, it always takes some time to understand, get it in our system of what that looks like. What is like being? What does that even mean? And I do remember, like, oftentimes you would say, you would declare, today I'm going to be productive. I'm going to be busy doing all of these things, but that's not right. And then another thing that I've been playing with recently to continue to solidify like this muscle of being, it's like sometimes maybe it would be supportive to think of like who are you intending to be in terms of like an identity, right? Am I going to be a powerful abundant, generous, like giver today, or like this magnetic, like whatever you give yourself an identity, maybe just for that day, versus being like a needy, desperate, in scarcity businesswoman, right? Like I'm gonna play with that. That's been something that I'm playing with. Maybe that will support some of our listeners tuning in if they're still kind of confused about being. What does that mean?
No, I think that's a good point, and that's something I can play around with too, because you're right. When that and that's something that's changed for me too, like that kind of living in that sort of fear of scarcity, um, as opposed to just living in abundance,
Mm-hmm.
just knowing that you have everything you need.
Yeah. As we're wrapping this up, Laurie, I do want to support you. Let's say, like, give you a golden nugget moving forward in your future. So, if you were to say, like, a common um, core emotion that precedes your tendency to shift back to doing, what do you feel like that core emotion usually is at underneath of all of that?
That's a good question. Okay, let me think about this real quick. And it's so before I like make decisions to add to my schedule or something, that emotion before
Like,
then, or is it when I'm already
like
busy?
any time when you notice yourself, like you have shifted back into the constant doing and like busy mode, like
Okay.
striving, what do you feel like it's usually the underlying core emotions underneath of that?
Um, I'm feeling, I'm just putting myself through it. Like I know I feel
Mm-hmm.
overwhelmed,
Mm-hmm.
and I think, well, I think it's fear based,
Mm,
and what comes up is fear of not getting everything done, but I know it's deeper
mm-hmm.
than that, so I'm trying
Right.
to
And
peel
that's
back.
perfect. That's perfect. So let's keep
Okay.
it just simple
Okay.
fear. It's the
Okay.
emotion. Okay. And the simpler we can keep it, the easier the shift would be.
Okay.
So when you feel this fear, whatever fear that is, where do you feel it the most in your body?
Um, well, the first thing that came to my mind was my heart,
Mm,
actually.
okay. Okay. So here's a strategy for you moving forward whenever you catch yourself back into like the doing. You don't even need to worry about what it is that you're doing. So forget about the mechanics, forget about like whatever, just focusing on this core emotion of fear and identifying, okay, it's in my heart. In my heart space right now, I'm feeling fear. And just like deeply breathe into that space. And what is an emotion that you would love to replace that fear with?
Um, just emotion would be, well, the words that are coming to my mind I know aren't really an emotion, but just like, well, love did come to my mind.
Love.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Keeping it simple. So when you notice that fear, you locate it, breathing into that space, and just allow yourself to feel the fear first. Like just sit with it, be present with it, and then
Okay.
choosing to replace that with love.
Oh, that's nice. That sounds
Hmm.
nice. I can see how that would bring peace.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's something that I'm doing too. And I notice like fear, it's the core emotion as well for me. When I catch myself back into, okay, I need to do all of these things. I gotta send out these emails. I gotta reach out to people. And then I know underlying of that, it's like the fear of not having money, the fear of scarcity, like all of that. So just keeping it simple, fear, okay, and maybe I feel it in my tummy, and then so I sit with it, I'm holding it like a precious baby, like a precious child. And then I just breathe love into it. I'm choosing to replace that with love. And whatever gives me the sensation of love, or maybe like tapping into a deep, deep, deep place within you that is love itself, that it's acceptance itself, and just letting that like wrap its arms around the fear.
Oh, that's nice. That's
Yeah.
nice. I will work on that. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Laurie, as we're wrapping up now, is there any last words you would like to speak into our audience? Like anyone that may be following your footsteps that are like caught in the constant doing, the striving, like constant busyness, what would you say to them?
I think I think that the two things and that just really stuck out for me was to start setting your intention every morning and of who you want to be today and how you are going to accomplish that. So for for me, how you told me to do it is, what are you willing to give up to be that person today? That was one of the things to kind of go through. And then at the end of the day, look back on it, but embrace what went wrong and acknowledge it. And um, like you said, give it some love. And the other thing is that constant, if you're on that constant hamster wheel and striving, just what Miko said earlier, you're in that constant state of striving. That's kind of what's going to come back to you. What you're attracting back to you is always being in that state of striving. So if you can be in a state of um, now and as if you already have what you need and want. That was really a huge kind of tweak for me. That really changed a lot of things for me. I would say those two things were the
Mm.
main things for me.
Beautiful. And for anyone listening, like just trust that even this new awareness is a powerful game changer. Like even if maybe with your mind logically, like you're having a hard time grasping the concept, like trust that this aha moment or the light bulb moment, it's already enough. Like it's enough for you to create some significant shifts in who you get to be, and trust that it's a process. Like we keep emphasizing, it's a process. Like we are eternal beings, so like we might as well let ourselves really soaking in every moment, like trusting that it's all beautiful, it's all perfect on our way to wherever we want to go. And all we have is now. All we have is this moment.
True.
So, Laurie, thank you again for being on here. Just love connecting with you. I love witnessing how much you are so committed to utilizing the tools that you have received from me in my coaching program last year. And just like seeing that it's still working for you, like that is just so, it makes me so happy to witness. And also that you're continuing to be a source of inspiration and empowerment for other women, and you get to impact them with your essence. Is like the most beautiful thing ever.
Oh, thank you, Miko. Thank you. I love connecting with you. And thanks so much for everything. Really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
you're so welcome. And thank you everyone for tuning in today. Like I always say, when you dedicate time to listen to something like this that gives your life, like your soul life and joy and empowerment, you are dedicating time as an act of self-love. So thank you for being on here. And if you would like a chance to be featured as a guest on my show, I would love to have you. Just be on the lookout for like a link somewhere in the caption or in the email that this goes out to. And I cannot wait to have you on the show. And until next time, I'll see all of you. Bye.
Bye.